Okay, so fifth one on the block. This video will not show you any C# code. However, its importance is key. This video holds the explanation to pretty much the centerpiece of every single object-oriented program that you will write in your life. And that concept is that of inheritance. Why is it so important? Well, because from now on, every single program we write will be a model of the context or the universe in which this program runs. That is, every single object that lives inside the program will be a part of a context or a part of a universe. How is that? Okay. First, we would need to give an example, and for that purpose we will provide our first three concepts. The first concepts are base class, derived class, and inheritance tree. Class library will be left for the next video, will be the implementation example of the theory hereby shown. So what is a base class? Well, in any single context you can think of, a base class will be object. So in our world, everything is an object. Object is the most general concept we can think of. Now, base classes have derived classes or derived concepts. For example, in our universe we might say that an example of an object can be clothing. It can be many things, but this is a very restricted universe, so we will be talking about clothing. So we say that we specify objects as clothing. So that clothing becomes a derived class of class object. Object is a base class, clothing is a derived class. At the same time, clothing might now become a base class for an even more specific one, that is sweater. So sweater is a more specific kind of clothing. So we are specifying our world. So sweater now becomes the derived class of base class clothing. Thus, clothing is both a derived class of object and a base class for sweater. We want to still be more specific, so we will talk about a specific kind of sweater, that is woolly sweaters. Sweaters made out of wool. So woolly sweater is a derived class of class sweater. That is, we are specifying which kind of sweater. And woolly will not be a base class for any other one, because we have chosen not to. We could have, but we will choose not to. So we have a list of classes in which the following relationships hold. First, the most general of the classes will be object. The more specific of the classes will be woolly. Classes in the middle will be intermediate degrees of specification or generalization. The most general of our classes will be the base class. The base class will always give lead to derived classes. Intermediate classes can be derived and also base. So clothing will be base to sweater. Sweater will be derived to clothing, but will be base to woolly. When we reach the lower part of the list, that is the most specific class we can think of, we say this is the derived class of everything else, and woolly will never be a base class of any other one. The second relationship that holds is the is-a relationship. So woolly sweaters is a sweater. A sweater is a clothing. A clothing is a object. Sounds kind of weird, but that's how it works. So a woolly sweater is a sweater is a clothing is an object. And so that relationship must hold for all the classes that are linked by a single thread. The thread means a single inheritance line. And so now we reach the point where we can say that since each one of these four is a class, we now know that every class holds attributes and behavior. When an object derives, when a class, derives to another one, we say that all the attributes and methods are also inherited by the derived class. That is to say that clothing will contain every single attribute and method its parent class or base class provided. Class sweater will also contain everything that clothing and object gave it besides having its own. And woolly will also provide its own attributes and method plus all those provided by its base classes. So let's give an example. Suppose we want to make an instance of class woolly. So what we will do here is start building this object by going all the way up to the most general class, object. And object will become the core of this one object we're trying to make an instance of. So we will build the object starting with the attributes and methods of the most general class on the inheritance tree belonging to the class where everything starts, woolly. Now, the next step will be go up one level down from object, that is clothing. And so we will add a new layer on top of object which will contain everything clothing provided to the object, that is its attributes and methods. If we go down one level more, we'll add layer sweater, attributes and methods, and we'll finally reach woolly, which was the class we started with in the first place, but it will be the last thing to add to the object. So this one sweater that we have produced here is a woolly sweater. Its nature is that of a sweater, its nature is then that of a clothing, and its nature is that of an object. The most general things are at the center of the object. The most specific behaviors and attributes are placed on the outer skirts or rim of the object. And as I said before, all the attributes and behavior were inherited at the same time, so that this one particular object contains at least 4 sets of attributes and at least 4 constructors plus the extra behavior that was produced by all the classes on top of the base one. So we have defined base class, derived class, inheritance tree, and this job that I just showed you is the job of modeling the context or universe in which all the objects in this program live or reside. In the next video I'll show you how to implement this using class libraries inside C#. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching.